Good morning, beloved ones, and welcome to this service celebrating the life and legacy of Stephanie Denise Johnson. I'm Reverend Carlton E. Smith, and I have the honor of having been asked by Kyrie, Ashia, and Isaiah to give Stephanie's eulogy today. I drove here from Mississippi yesterday to be here. This is the second time within the past 17 months that some of us have gathered in this room to remember the life of a dear member of the Johnson family. In June of 2023, we lost Stephanie's uncle and my former partner, Reverend Yolbanzi Charles Johnson, and we memorialized him here in this chapel. He too lived with and eventually succumbed to renal failure. Though different from Stephanie, his kidney failure went undiagnosed and untreated for many years. I got to know Stephanie a bit back in the late 1990s when she came and stayed with Yolbanzi and me in Oakland, California, where we were living at the time. She was already mother to Kyrie and Ashia, and she was weighing the options and opportunities that lay before her. I didn't get to know her well, as it turned out, but I will never forget her beautiful smile, her humble demeanor, and her sweet spirit. Within the past week, I came upon what I've chosen as the central reading for this morning. I caught a clip on Instagram of the actor Jeff Goldblum being interviewed by Stephen Colbert. Colbert asked his guest on The Late Show, how does Jeff Goldblum stay inspired? This is Jeff Goldblum's response. Well, in many ways, I like to play music, of course, but I do find myself coming back to this quote by George Bernard Shaw. Let me see if I can remember it. He says, "This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature instead of a feverish little cloud of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle for me. It is sort of a splendid torch which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations." It's from this quote by George Bernard Shaw that this eulogy gets its name, which is Stephanie's splendid torch. To begin with, let's consider the name Stephanie, the feminine version of Stephen, which was derived from the Greek word Stephanos, meaning crown or garland. A bit of online research indicates that Stephanie was a very popular name in the 1970s, the decade that Stephanie was born, and into the 1980s. It still has a decent presence on American babies' birth certificates to this day. How fitting is it that someone as talented, as smart, and as competitive as Stephanie would have a name that denotes excellence and achievement? Her big sister Roshana remembers how active Stephanie was, and that maybe, just maybe, she was a little bit spoiled as the baby of the family. You couldn't tell her that she couldn't do something that she wanted to do. That was just Stephanie's chance to show you the champion that she was. She excelled as a cheerleader and as a member of the basketball team at Booker T. Washington High School. One schoolmate on Facebook remembered her mean hook shot and her being a beast at tetherball. As a high school scholar, Stephanie was inducted into the National Honor Society and received a scholarship to college. In the spirit of the George Bernard Shaw reading, so much of what made Stephanie great was her dedication to caring for others. As Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said in his sermon, The Drum Major Instinct, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. I ask you, did Stephanie have a heart full of grace? Did she have a soul generated by love? Yes, she did. And as we are reminded in 1 Corinthians 13, if I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all that I possess to the poor and give my body over to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Was Stephanie patient? Was she kind? Did she protect those that she loved? Did she trust in a brighter day? Did Stephanie keep hope alive? Did Stephanie persevere? I think we can say then that Stephanie was an embodiment of love itself. And that's why her absence is felt so deeply today. Stephanie was a queen of hearts. Someone who gave so much to the people in her life, whether that was her beloved Mother Dee, her dear sister Roshana, her children and other family members, her colleagues and friends, or the patients she worked with day to day. She had a sweet side, but there was also a line. Shalise Tulsa put it this way on Facebook to Ashia. I met your mother at Rest Haven. She was kind, she was brave. She was a bleak talker if you crossed her or her kids. She showed me what it was to keep pushing through this life no matter what. I still brag about her. Just know she touched so many people. She will be truly missed. I am really sad to hear it. And yes, we knew one day she made it, we knew one day this would happen, but she made you believe she was going to live forever. She was so strong. She was so humble. Heart of gold. Rest, my friend. You fought the best fight I've ever seen. If you all need anything, please let me know. I will try my best. Love and prayer sent to y'all. So we're talking about Stephanie's splendid torch. We covered her name, which spoke to her regalness and her accomplishments. Now we move on to the word splendid. Splendid, an adjective, is understood to have first appeared in the 1620s, meaning marked by grandeur, probably shortened from the earlier splendidus, which meant wonderful, magnificent. From the Latin splendius, bright, shining, glittering, sumptuous, gorgeous, grand, illustrious, distinguished, noble, showy, fine. From splendere, which meant be bright, shine, gleam, glisten. Now let's touch a bit on Stephanie's splendid career as a nurse. We can start off with some of the things artificial intelligence will tell you for which nurses are responsible, which include patient care. Nurses provide direct patient care, including performing physical exams, taking health histories, and administering medications. They also monitor patients' vital signs, such as temperature, pulse, blood pressure, and respiratory rate. Nurses are responsible for health education. Nurses educate patients and their families on how to manage injuries and illnesses and what to do at home after treatment. They also provide guidance on immunizations, nutrition, and safety. Advocacy. Nurses act as patients' advocates, safeguarding patient interests and helping them make informed treatment decisions. Collaboration. Nurses collaborate with doctors and other healthcare professionals to coordinate care and treatment plans. Monitoring. Nurses monitor patient recovery, observing and recording symptoms, reactions, and progress. Diagnostic testing. Nurses help perform diagnostic tests and analyze the results. And equipment operation. Nurses operate and monitor medical equipment. And these were all things that Stephanie did during her splendid career as a nurse. Sean recalls that Stephanie worked every single day, just as their mother Dee had before, making sure her children, whom she loved so much, had everything they needed. She had always been a caretaker. She worked at a nursing home with her Aunt Mary when she was in her teens and continued to look after and care for people from then on, eventually becoming a licensed practical nurse and later a registered nurse specializing in geriatric care. Did you know that Stephanie was literally a lifesaver? Isaiah wanted to be sure you all knew that over the course of her decades-long career as a nurse, his mother used cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR, twice. And I believe one of those times was on you, in fact. And I think he's going to tell us more about that later in the service. Stephanie's splendid torch. Now we've talked about how Stephanie lived up to the meaning of her name. We've talked about her splendid career as a nurse. Now let's consider her legacy, the flame she has passed on, her torch itself. Torch is from the mid-13th century word torch, which is a light to be carried by the hand, formed of some flammable material, also sometimes a large wax or tallow candle, from the Old French torche or torch, a handful of straw for wiping or cleaning, and this is probably from the vulgar Latin torca, which is an alternative for the late Latin torque, which in its original sense meant a twisted thing. A torch was formed from a twisted group of materials or cloth that was then dipped into wax. To pass the torch is an ancient metaphor from the Greek torch races that were held at certain festivals, sometimes as relays. The prize went to the one who reached the finish line first with the torch still burning. The modern figurative use of hand or pass the torch is typically in reference to a tradition, especially one of enlightenment. Sean remembers back when Stephanie broke her hip 5 or 6 years ago, and how that was the beginning of greater complications in her health and in her life. Now, this is what Ashia wrote about 2 weeks ago. Facebook friends and family, my mother will be going on hospice. A lot of you don't know our mother has been dealing with end-stage renal disease for 25 years. And the last 6 years, she's been fighting through many surgeries and infections. She's asked me to let her loved ones know she loves them and appreciates you for being in her life. And she fought as hard as she could, and she's tired. If you would like to tell her anything in her last days, we don't know how long that will be, let us know, and my siblings and I will do that. Then a few days later, Ashia wrote, I still can't believe I had to put my mother on hospice. She cheated death so many times. I knew it had to come eventually, but it doesn't make it any easier. The first couple of years she was hospitalized, it was just us. We slept, ate, and bathed at hospitals, spent our birthdays at the hospitals. The staff remembered us every time she was admitted again. Even though she was always in pain, we found comfort in knowing we had each other. Whenever a nurse addressed me as her daughter, she corrected them and told them that I'm her best friend, right-hand man, and confidant. I'm going to miss her so much. Paraphrasing George Bernard Shaw, Stephanie's life was no brief candle. It was a splendid torch which she held courageously for over 5 decades. She made it burn as brightly as she possibly could before handing it over to her children and to the rest of us and those yet to come. To Ashia, Kyrie, and Isaiah, you are now part of an unenviable group, children of deceased beloved mothers. It's one of the oldest groups in the world, and if we outlive the women who birthed and or were our caregivers, most of us eventually become members. You are not alone, though. On behalf of myself and other children of deceased beloved mothers, and all of us who grieve with you at this time and in this place, we extend our condolences and deepest sympathies. Your lives will be different going forward. You'll have a different relationship to reality. To find Stephanie before you would turn in her direction or pick up the phone, get in a car and drive, knock on the door, and she will be there. Now, when you need to feel the light, warmth, and power of Stephanie's splendid torch, you will turn to each other as her children. You will turn to those of us who knew and loved her, and you will turn within to find Stephanie's splendid torch burning brilliantly in your own splendid hearts. May it be so. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be. Now we'll have a special song shared by Stephanie's Aunt Mary, and the program will be
Good morning. Good morning. Y'all too quiet for me. All right. When you get older, things get cold. Why should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. Oh, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. Oh, his eye is on that little sparrow, and I know He watches me.
Amen.
So I'm trying to do this without crying. But it's a poem I wrote for her. It's called The Nurse's Final Shift. The nurse's final duty has officially been called. It is her final shift in the earthly realm, as the earth is sometimes called. Her supernatural shift has begun its descent. And boy, oh boy, the tears she left us with. You spent your life helping others as the head nurse in charge. Personality and smile could only be described as large. Holding people's hands as God called them to the light. Now it's your turn, and I can only imagine the sight. As God called you over and erased all your pain, now you're running in heaven, and for the world. Now you're running in heaven, and for us, the world has changed. Even though it's hard, we know you put up a fight. I want you to know that your children will be all right. Lifelong lessons that they will never forget. One thing they will always remember is their mother's grit. All we have left is memories, but they will take us far. Because Stephanie, we all know that you were a shooting star. Brilliant, blazing, beautiful. As we bow our heads and the tears run down our face, we know without any doubt that you can never be replaced. The nurse's final shift has finally begun. The RN has been promoted to an angel. They that love beyond the world can never be separated by it. Death cannot kill what never dies. And Stephanie, we will mourn you until we join you.
We're going to not have a slide video presentation, and we'll now have comments and remarks from families and friends. We ask that everyone try to hold their comments about 2 minutes. either one.
Good Lord God. I met Stephanie a long time ago. A long time ago, we were both nurses. But I met her even before that. Because we were gifted with these kids here. And they joined our family. And so, she was strong. You can't take anything else. You take those life lessons that she instilled. She was strong, she was courageous. Her heart was full. And though she didn't have anything to give, or why would she want to have something to give? She gave it anyway. So take that and take the fact that she was loved and she gave it. I'm glad that she's in my life. I'm glad you guys are in my life.
Praise the Lord. My name is Angela Willis Tisdale, and I had the pleasure of growing up with Stephanie. We went to Burroughs, we went to Carver and Booker T, playing softball and basketball together. Stephanie used to do my hair, you name it. Stephanie was so smart. We were always in the gifted section of class. We got to sit out and do things at our own pace, so we cut up a little bit together too growing up. Stephanie gave the best advice. She was super smart. We'll miss her greatly. I'm her classmate from Booker T class of 1990, and I'm gonna ask the members that are here, would you please stand? I do want to read the resolution of respect for Stephanie. Booker T Washington class of 1990, resolution of respect for Miss Stephanie Denise Johnson. We are to be comforted by the words of our Lord in Revelations 21:4, which says, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying. Neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away." Whereas in God's holy wisdom, he has called upon Stephanie to dwell with him in the glories of paradise, the officers and members of Booker T. Washington class of 1990 offer our sincere condolences to the family of our dear classmate, Stephanie Johnson. Your sorrow is our sorrow. Your loss is magnified by the loss of a dear soul from your family and our beloved alumni. Although it's difficult today to see beyond the sorrow, we pray that looking back in memory will help comfort your tomorrow. May the blessings of love be upon you. May its peace abide with you. May its essence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Therefore, be it resolved that we bow in acceptance of the perfection of God's plan to gather each of us into his merciful arms when we have fulfilled our task on this earth. We know that Stephanie can never be replaced. However, her memory will forever live in our hearts infinitely. Humbly submitted on this first day of November 2024, the officers and members of Booker T. Washington class of 1990, Brian Tompkins, class president. God bless you.
Is there anyone else who would like to share?
Oh, sorry.
I just want to say thank you again for that poem to me that brilliant.
I was contemplating again whether I should come up here and say something, because I just left, but it wouldn't go away, so I figured out I should. But I remember my mom and Stephanie was real good friends. But I remember how Stephanie became my friend. I had a memory. I was 19 and I was pregnant. I didn't want to tell my mama. And I remember Stephanie was one of the first person I told. And I was like, don't tell my mama. Then I had another memory when I actually had my daughter, when I had my first daughter. Stephanie was in the room with me. She was one of the first persons. She helped, they held her. And I remember telling her, go tell my mama. But one of the things I remember the most, she said when she first met my mama was in the hallway dancing in West Haven. If y'all know my mama, y'all know how she is. But she was dancing, singing a song, Who Wanna Be Like the Dyers, because that's the last name. And Stephanie said she remembered, like, who's the Dyers and who would want to be like them? Nobody, by the way. But anyway, my mama ended up becoming really good friends. And I just want to say, I got my nephew out the deal. I just want to say that I'm really gonna miss her. She held all my secrets. And this room really couldn't contain the number of people that Stephanie, whose life she touched. And I will really miss her. I really will.
Going once? Going twice? Oh. All right. And now I think it's time for you to give us some words to remember.
Evening, everybody. So y'all know my mom fought for like decades on this earth that no one can take back. I know my mama, she's gonna go to work, make sure we're okay, and put on half. To quote Maya Angelou, people may forget what you said. People may forget what you did. But they won't forget, they make them feel. My mom made sure everybody felt loved, appreciated, and safe. There wasn't a person here that she didn't love and value wholeheartedly. She always told me to work hard, accomplish something, be better, and be great. The legacy goes on beyond the grave. To memorialize on my arm, see my heart felt. When my mom's dead, I'm keep her legacy alive. And she wants y'all to know she loves y'all dearly. We came together for the right reasons. And this is just only the start of the next chapter. She'll be missed.
Thank you, I appreciate it so much. And as far as I think this concludes our service together at this time. I would leave you with some closing words, and we will go to Stephanie's final resting place together, and then come back here to the church for the repast, which will be in the fellowship hall. We'll be going to Crown Hill Cemetery. And with that, I will leave you with these words by one of my Unitarian Universalist colleagues. Put it this way: take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. We'll depart this place in peace, knowing that love surrounds us, including Stephanie.